refer to it. Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay, so still struggling with the reactivity stuff. They're keeping him in place. When you guys go into the different room, he's kind of whining and crying and all that stuff.
Yeah, he gets up, he tries to follow us.
No. No.
So.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hi. It's been a while. And then you're going up on the call to correct things and things like that.
Yeah.
And then you have to listen to Daniel as well, like having to repeat things and all that stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's both of us. He just, it's like we say it multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the key thing that you're wanting to focus on, or what's your goal?
I think we've just been kind of overwhelmed with like just stuff going on in our life, and like with him, like he has many things we could work on, but just like what to focus on first, like what's most important, like is it the hero or the place, or all of it, or I tried watching your videos on YouTube, and it just gets really overwhelming.
It's a lot of stuff.
Because he's very anxious.
Yeah.
Like I don't know even how to get him to just
Sit still.
chill.
Yeah. Sure.
He sometimes, like when we leave, like we'll grab the kennel. We just made it a habit now just to leave the kennel in the car, not even. But it's like when we're both leaving, he whines, he shakes, and even if we correct him, it's like he just takes it.
Keeps going, yeah.
And then it doesn't change, so it's like I don't know if there's a different tactic, but I don't know what would be a good place to kind of start things.
Okay, so what we're gonna do right here is go ahead and put him on place.
Okay, Enano, place. Okay. Place.
Okay. Okay, cool. So now he's on place, okay? Then go ahead and have a seat. And then what's your number currently out there, e-collar?
8.
8. Okay, so I'm gonna take your e-collar here.
Yep.
And I'm gonna take your leash real quick.
Yep.
Okay. So, we'll see how he does. So, okay, so where to start with all this stuff? The two things that I picked up on from what you described in the email is, I know there's the reactivity stuff, the walking, right, so here. So this is 8, okay? 23. 31. There. Okay. So here, the main thing that I picked up on was most likely not going high enough, right? And what's the highest you've gone with the Enano?
Like 80s, 90s.
80s, 90s, okay.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to theoretically, okay, there's not exceptions, theoretically, when it comes to putting, are you cold? I'm sorry?
I'm fine, I'm always cold.
Oh, okay. I put the
I'm
AC
okay.
on just because
No,
it's
okay.
When it comes to the dog performing, let's say just obedience, okay? It just comes down to, is it important enough? And we create importance through level, okay? So you had it, and my theory of training has changed since I've worked with you guys, okay? Because of COVID, during all of 2020 and early 21 and stuff, people didn't want me in the home, people didn't want me touching their stuff. So I had to figure out a way to get the owner to get the dog to listen without me touching the dog. So the theory has changed a bit, okay? So here, there's been some adjustments. So here, you're coming in 8, okay? You have a seat. I saw Daniel try and get a Enano to relax. You kept saying like down and like stuff like that, right? But Enano just kept moving around, right? And right away, if you give a command, if he does not perform it, right away you gotta kick him with this.
Okay.
Because if it came down, down, down,
Yeah.
right? And he kept moving before we applied this. And this is what makes it important. So then I said, let's make it simpler. Because telling a Enano to down like this is more difficult. So don't think about the place, think about his position. See how he's laying down?
Yeah.
That's harder for a Enano to do. It's easier. Go on top of this thing, sit, stand, lay down. I don't care. Just don't get off.
Just stay there.
Exactly. So that's why I said put Enano in place, right? You said place, he kind of went and then kind of went back and was like, right?
Yeah.
So then I think you tapped and you pulled a bit, he hopped on, and then I said, let me take, and within 5 seconds,
Yeah.
Enano hops off, right?
Yeah.
And within 5 seconds, 8 to 31, I escalated very quickly, right? But I didn't pull Enano to make him go here. I put a little bit, and it just kept going up. And on 31, what did you see?
I mean, he reacted, but then he eventually went.
Correct. And most importantly, he went on his own.
Okay.
Okay, he made the decision. Being here under Dad's legs isn't helping right now. I was doing this before. What happens if I go there? Everything goes away.
Okay.
Okay? And since I went to 31, what have we seen?
He stayed for the most part.
Same butt, right? He's moved a little bit, but remember, place is more lenient. Sit, stand, lay down. You could get up and come over here and all that stuff, right? Just don't get off of the object of place, okay? And this was one of your things in the email.
Yeah,
Right.
like when we put him in, like sometimes, it's not very frequent, we'll put him in the bedroom when we're both home to try and create some separation. And we have, I'll put 2 beds in there, I don't care which one he does. It's like just like a flat one, and then with like little edges, so whatever he wants in my place. I'll put the furbo in there, e-collar, I'll leave the door open, sometimes shut it, mostly open. He'll stay there for a while.
How long's a while?
On a good day, maybe like 15, 30 minutes.
Okay.
But eventually he will get up and I'll correct him. I won't go in there because I'm looking. He'll eventually go back and pick it up, go back and up. And I will up like the levels. That's when I've gotten to like those high levels, and he ends up just shaking in a corner, and he won't lay down, he won't, and I'm like, this is really stressful.
That's okay. All right, so let me understand this correctly. Enano's in a different room, right? He's got a bed or like a thing on the ground. You put him there, he's there for 15, 30 minutes, he tries to get off, and you start off at what, like 8 or something?
Yeah, I tend to start off lower.
Okay. And then you increase.
Yeah.
And then when you hit, let's say 80, okay, he goes in the corner of the room, or does he stay on the object?
I'll do it when he's off of his bed, he'll like run around the bed and kind of hide in like the back corner of the room.
Okay.
And like if I do it again, he'll like obviously yelp and like run to the other side of the room, but he won't go back.
To the object?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if he does, it's only for like a minute.
Okay. Okay. So what I would do here is on consistently speaking, if you go the higher number that you use, which one gets Enano, what level gets Enano to go back, even if it's for like a minute?
It really depends. It could be lower, depending on
his emotional state.
Yeah, like if it's earlier in this like place session in the bedroom, like he's more likely to stay longer. But as time goes on, he gets up more frequently, stays less time, even if I'm like higher. So it's like I don't know what to do, so then I just end up ending it. I don't want him to like have it be like this whole negative. I mean, I don't know
how he perceives it.
Yeah. Like I want him to be like, I can chill in here. But he hasn't.
Yes. So the reason why he hasn't is because his anxiety is overwhelming. It's not allowing him to, like even now.
Yeah.
Like we're literally feet from him and you can just see how he's anxious.
Yeah.
That's how this starts, okay? So what I would do is, do you have with a leash or no leash?
In the bedroom? Just the e-collar.
Okay, we're gonna go back to leash.
Okay.
Okay, you're still gonna do everything the same, okay? And if you wanna make it easier, you can start in the same room and then work to the next room again.
Okay. He will, like if we're in the living room, like he's working, I'm working, he'll stay.
Okay.
And sleep.
For as long as you need him to. It's only when you separate them.
Yep.
Okay, then just skip that
Even
part.
with the door open, like he can't see us, but he can hear us, and he'll like get up, try to move to the door so he can like peek through.
Okay. So yeah, you're gonna keep the leash on, okay? And what we want to find is, when you go up higher on your number, how quickly would you say you escalate your number? Is it like in 10 minutes you end at 60, or is it within like 1 minute you're already at 60?
No, it's usually longer,
Okay.
not like within 1 minute, it's just like throughout, like the longest I've had them in there is like, I don't know, 3 hours maybe.
Okay,
And like over the course of that, it'll be going up.
okay.
And I know that's, I feel like maybe that's asking him a lot to be there for 3 hours,
No.
but, okay.
It's not. Anxiety wise, yes, but technically speaking, no. Okay, which sounds mean, right? But unfortunately for Enano, that's the only way to get him over that. The issue is we're taking too long.
Okay,
Okay, so how quickly did they go from 8 to 31?
like immediately.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I could recognize that 8 wasn't working, and then when I was tapping and turning up, and then finally Enano went like this because I could see him feel it, and then you get a little yelp, and then he just like went to the bed.
Okay.
So the yelp, ideally we don't want it. Doesn't always mean physical discomfort.
Mhm.
Yelping can mean surprise. Yelping can be frustration because he didn't want to leave Daniel,
Yeah,
right? But he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it, and then he moved forward. But since that, I've not had to touch this.
yeah, he's
Right.
stayed put.
So now it's how do we get this to a setting where Nano's in a different room, okay? So that's why I was asking if there's some kind of consistency. So like, let's say you said, well, you know, when we hit 60, he's more inclined to go to the bed. He just gets off every minute. Then I go, we start right at 60 then.
Okay.
Does that make
Like
sense?
when we first start the whole thing.
Correct, you'd already start up there, because what happens is for the anxiety, you're trying to, I'm gonna correct this here.
Mhm.
For the anxiety, the stress of the anxiety can override the collar.
Okay.
Okay, because there's different factors that are variables with how the dog perceives this. How big is the dog? How tough is the dog? Is the dog under stress? Is the dog have long, thick coat of fur? Is the dog moving or is the dog stationary, right?
Mhm.
And there's more, but those are like very common ones. Because if the dog's running around like this, right, they're bouncing,
Yeah.
they got thicker fur, the collar, the probes. So then once I get a feel for the dog, then I know, okay, this is a tougher dog. Like I have 2 golden retrievers right now, puppies, 6 to 8 months old that I've been training.
Mhm.
Their numbers are like 90.
Oh boy.
But they're not hurting, they're not yelping.
Mhm.
They just need 90, because even though they're very friendly and they're very sweet, they're very tough
Mhm.
physically, right? So that's how things have changed. So for Enano, even though he's small, we have to account for he is a very anxious dog.
Okay.
Right.
So the anxiety and his stress can.
Override the
Okay,
collar.
That's why it seems like, I felt like he just like takes it and deals with it and doesn't change.
Exactly. Okay, so that's why I was like, what's the highest? And you said 80 to 90. So that leaves us with approximately 30 to 47 levels left, because this cap's at 127, right? So like I have another dog right now that comes to daycare and stuff, and she's almost a year, but she's like a Nano size. She's an Aussie Doodle, her name's Pretzel. Same color, 90 is her number. No, sorry, 80. 80 is her number. But she doesn't yelp or anything. She takes it and you see the big contraction, but she won't listen to anything less.
Yeah.
But she's a small dog. So and I have another dog, same breed, his number's 18, 1-8.
Do you want to stay in here? Because my client's here for 1.
For 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Or they're done?
No, my 1 is here.
Oh, you can use the floor.
Oh.
So it's just finding the number more immediately that's gonna get a Nano to be compliant.
Okay.
Okay, so in the beginning, the reason why we do the low to high methodology is we're trying to figure out what number consistently, where do we end up consistently to get a Nano to behave,
Mhm.
okay? So like, let's say, for example, your walk's the heel.
Mhm.
The way I approach it now is we have the connection, perception, and working levels. Have you heard about this?
In one of your videos.
In one of my videos.
Briefly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain that to you, and I'm gonna have you make some tweaks to your training and then see what we end up with, okay?
Okay.
So connection means when you see this, but a Nano does not care. So like, let's say he's staring at a dog.
He just like feels it. But
Yeah, but does not care. That's connection, because you see the twitch, but he is still staring at the dog. Perception, still staring at the dog. The twitch, back to staring at the dog, twitch, back to the dog, right? But you can see some kind of response. So we know he's aware here. Working level is he sees the dog, the twitch, he goes, whoa. And he refocuses, exactly. So working level is a range. It's like a spectrum, if you will. There's a spectrum for connection, a spectrum for perception, and a spectrum for working, okay? Is, I want to find a number, so like here, right now, currently, what I would dub the working level is 31. Okay, because 31 made Enano think, I don't want to be here, I want to go back to here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it you can tell because the immediacy of it, right? As soon as I hit 31, not only did he come here, but he has stayed here for at least 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas early when you first came in, he couldn't sit still for seconds, he kept moving,
Yeah.
right? So this is what we're struggling with at home. So now it's finding what's the working number when a nano is in a different room, because we know that's harder for him, right? That's going to get him to correct himself, not only quickly, but we require less of.
Okay.
Okay, so the only reason why I'm tapping now the last 2 times was because he whined, right? So at first I ignored it for a bit, then I go, okay, now he's whined too many times. So now I'm being more strict and I'm saying, even though you're on the bed, you cannot whine, okay? Now, if you look at him, he's still stressed, he's shaking and he's panting.
Yeah.
This, you can't do anything about. This is just part of the process, okay? So think of the panting and the shaking as a nano expressing the anxiety, kind of like crying, right? If you're really sad, and crying allows you to express the emotion and get it out your system, right? That's the same thing for this.
Okay.
The whining, however, is a nano practicing anxiety.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So let's take fear. Very common with puppies. They'll hide underneath the chair. Okay, this is practicing fear because they are hiding. If I take the leash and I bring them out, I'm sorry, see, it just came
No,
in.
that's okay.
Yeah, you know what to do. Thanks. Hi. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. So I heard a couple of yips.
54, because we wouldn't go.
That's okay. And I'm gonna put you in control of this now. Okay? So, puppy underneath my chair, that's practicing fear. So what I tell the owner to do is I say, take your leash and bring them right here in front of you on the floor. And you'll see them trying to go underneath the chair. Just hold them. Eventually they quit and they'll sit there. And you'll see them like this. Like, exactly like an animal. So the difference is they're scared in both instances, but this would be practicing fear, this would be facing fear.
Okay.
Because they don't want to be in the social space. So by keeping them out from underneath, they can't practice it, they have to confront it, they have to face it. So by you putting a nano in a different room, when he breaks off of the place, he's practicing anxiety.
Okay.
Right? But you're technically trying to confront the anxiety because you're putting them in a different spot, in a different room of you, right? But if he keeps breaking off, he's breaking off because he doesn't want to sit still.
Yeah.
Anxiety wants to move, which is why earlier when you first arrived, he kept moving because that's anxiety, right? So then when it comes to confronting it, when we deal with behavior, we're typically going opposite to the behavior. So if a dog wants to move a lot, we make them sit still. If the dog wants to sit still, we make them move. Does that make sense? Because, so like, if we're teaching heel, some dogs will like stop and lay down, and they don't want to move. So we have to make them move forward to confront whatever it is they don't want to move for, whether it's fear, avoidance, or whatever. With the collar, we keep going up, so eventually the dog goes, okay, I can't hide from this. And they move forward, and then everything disappears. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to find for Enano here is, we already know 8's not gonna work. Don't even start at 8.
Okay.
If you know 15's not gonna work, you don't start at 15, right? You would go by all your failures. And you're like, I've been as high as 8 and a 90, right? So that's why I said go to the leash. Because I think what he's missing here is just a little bit of guidance.
Okay.
Technically speaking, he should be able to go back and correct himself. If I'm seeing the dog is having more inconsistencies, then I think they're not getting it as well. So then, let's say you're tapping and he's doing anything but.
Yeah.
You would keep tapping, you walk in, grab your leash. Then let's say you grab your leash and now runs straight to the bed. You drop the leash, you walk out.
Okay.
You don't say anything, okay? How long does he wait there? Let's say you're at 60. He's there for 5 minutes, and now gets off, okay? Keep it at 60. You start tapping. Let's say he runs back. Perfect, you do not go in the room. If he doesn't go back, by the 3rd tap, keep tapping, walk in the room, grab the leash, lead him back unless he goes on his own, drop the leash, walk out the room, okay? Again, maybe 5 minutes later, and now gets off. What does that tell us?
I don't.
He's practicing.
What?
He's weird.
Practicing.
He's still practicing
Yeah.
anxiety, right? But what are we trying to achieve?
Just to stay put.
Yes, just to stay put, right?
Yeah.
And we're at 60. And he's staying for 5 minutes?
Should we up the level?
Yes,
Okay.
because what is 60 getting us?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So I go 65,
Okay.
okay? Start tapping 3 times. By the 3rd tap, no response. You go in, keep tapping, help. He goes to the bed.
How fast would the tapping be?
I'd go tap, tap, tap.
Okay.
Because higher power and faster speed can create more panic. So you try to balance it out, higher power, slower rhythm. Not to say that you can't do fast tapping with.
Yeah, I don't want to overwhelm him too. He's already.
Yeah, but don't worry about that.
Okay.
Because if you do, you're going to be so cautious about it that you're going to get stuck. So I'm going to give you a very just clear-cut, methodical way to approach this, okay? So I think, from what you've told me, I'd probably just start at 60, okay? You're going to do my 3-tap rule and my 3 correction rule. Okay, my 3-tap rule is if I don't see a change by the 3rd tap, I bump the collar 5 levels. Okay? My 3 correction rule is every time I have to take Enano back to the bed, that is 1 correction, so to speak. Okay? So let's say Enano's here. Okay? And actually, let me show you. It's easier as a visual. Right? So I'm gonna dip down. I'm gonna go down to 8. Okay? So this is 8. Okay? Tap, tap. Right? What do I want him to do right now?
Stay there.
Where?
At your side?
No.
No?
I want him to go here.
Oh, even
Okay.
though you didn't tell him?
Even though I didn't tell him, okay?
Oh.
So I'm doing this purposefully.
Okay.
Because you have to see, so that's 3 taps. Enano did something, but he didn't do what I want him to do. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, just so you are, is technically unfair, but I'm doing it to give you. Yeah, it's technically unfair, but I'm doing this for your visual. Okay, so I'm gonna go to, we're gonna say that's 10, I'm gonna go to 15. Okay, this is 15. Tap, 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 nothing. 20. Tap, 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 nothing. 25. Tap, 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 nothing. 30. Tap, tap. There. You see that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's my 3-tap rule. So I knew Enano was gonna go there. How?
Because it's the place that he doesn't feel it.
He doesn't feel the collar, right? What else?
That's what he was doing before.
Correct. That's what he was doing before. So he already had a baseline. Plus, are we in a heel?
No.
What's heel? Heel's walking,
Yeah.
right? Dogs see things in pictures. So in this picture, his options would be to go to the bed, to lay down if he knows how to lay down, to sit, but he was already sitting. It's not gonna become, because he came closer to me. Does that make sense? So I knew, even though I did not say place, I knew that once I got to Enano's working number, he was gonna go.
Okay.
And what was the number earlier?
31.
31.
Yeah.
What's my number now?
31.
All right, right? So in this context, the working number is 30, right? Because 10, nothing. 15, nothing. 20. So that was my 3-tap rule. I did 3 taps on 10, no response. 15, no response. 20, tap, 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 no response. And on 30, tap, tap, boom. On the second tap, Enano went from here to there. That's within my 3-tap rule.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So that's how that works. Okay, if I'm doing something like this, because the dog can't get anywhere, the leash limits his options. Had I had the leash on the ground, Enano would have this entire room in the hallway and the rest of my facility to try to turn this off.
Yeah.
Okay? It's more difficult, which is why in the room I said go back to putting the leash on.
Okay.
So that when you go in to give guidance, it helps him get there more quickly. So that he can associate, when I feel this, it needs to go here. Okay? So then, the reason why in this instance, after 3 taps, you would go in the room is because it's more difficult. Because you're not there to limit his options. Okay, so you're watching on your Furbo, you're at 60, tap, 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 Enano's not doing what you need him to do. You keep tapping, go in the room, grab the leash, he runs to the bed, he goes, you drop the leash, you walk out, you do not say anything. Okay? You look at your time, 2 o'clock. 5 minutes later, Enano tries to get off. Tap, tap, tap. He's still not going back to the bed. Tap, go back in the room, grab the leash, you help him. Okay? So now, my 3-tap rule, in your case, by that 3rd tap, if he doesn't do it, you help him. Okay? Each time you do that, that is 1 correction. Not the taps. Each time you go in to help him, that is 1 correction. Okay? On the 3rd time, tap, 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 he's not doing it, go in, tap to help him. He gets off again, I go 60 is not working. It's only getting me 5 minutes. 65, okay, or you can go 70 if you want to go faster. Same, now we reset the count. Okay, now I'm at 70. I know it, 60 gets me 5 minutes. Okay, same thing, he tries to get off. Tap, tap. He's not doing it, you go back in, tap, you help him, he goes back, you leave. Let's say Enano now stays for 15 minutes. Better.
Yeah.
Got us 10 more minutes, right? So then he gets off again. Tap, tap. You have to go in, you help him, that's now 2 corrections, you come back out. 15 minutes later, Enano gets off again. So what does that tell us?
It needs to go higher.
It needs to go higher, because you're trying to get indefinite. You're trying to get, if I put you in here for an hour, if I put you in here for 10 minutes, if I put you in here for 2 hours, you don't get off.
I just want you to stay there.
Exactly, right? So you're looking for an indefinite period of time. But 70 is only getting us 15 minutes, okay? Then I go to 80, okay? Repeat, then 90, repeat. And let's say I hit 100, okay? And I get to 100 and tap, and off the first tap, the Enano just runs back to the bed. You don't go in the room. 3 o'clock, right? 30 minutes goes by, you look at the Furbo, Enano's still there. 3:45, he's still there. 4 o'clock, he tries to get off. You tap him, he goes back. And then he stays there for an hour and a half. You're gonna see an increase. You're gonna see a decrease in corrections. You're gonna see an increase in the length of time. Once you hit the correct number. Okay, so that's why I'm doing 3 and 3. To give you a very clear structure, and it's not random of like, okay, I think I should go higher now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just very clean cut. And then, so once you hit the correct working level for Enano in that particular context, you're gonna go, yeah, man, once I hit 100, I just tapped him once and I didn't have to go in, he just corrected himself. And not only that, he stayed there for an hour. And then when he got off, I corrected him again, he went back, and then he stayed there for 2 hours. It's gonna be it should be very black and white of like, okay, now I know what to do.
Okay.
So then the next day, you know, you go in, you release them the next day, you try again. You have a couple of options. In the beginning, I'd most likely have you reset back to 60, okay? And if you feel like it's too much, go lower. Like right now, 30 is we're doing the trick, but this is not at home,
Yeah.
okay? So whatever you choose to do, you can start at 30, you can start at 60, is if you end up at 100 and you see like, wow, that's a big change, the next day you pick up where you left off, but you would most likely progress quickly because you already have a concept. You're thinking, well, yesterday was 100, right? And then let's say again, you repeat, but then you get to 100 and same thing. You get to 100 and all of a sudden the Enano doesn't move for 2 hours, right? You go in, break, next day, you try it again, right? And then you go, every time I hit 100, Enano doesn't move for 2 hours.
Maybe just start with
You just started at 100, okay? So then, but that's why we start low and you work your way up because it's like an experiment, but it's very structured,
Yeah,
okay?
that helps.
So then, once you've done this enough times, typically by the third to fifth time, I would say if you're consistently always ending at 90 to 100, it's safe to assume the next time, because you've done it several times, we just come in at 100, right? So then what ends up happening is from the get-go, he just doesn't move for an extended period of
If he's
time.
found place, then he should go.
Exactly,
Okay.
because he's thinking it's gonna be 100 right away. But if we always go 8 to 100, he's gonna take 8 to 100 to get off and do all the other stuff.
Yeah,
Does that
it
make
gets
sense?
old really fast.
Yes. So, and it's not him trying to be, you know, a jerk or anything.
Yeah.
It's just he's overwhelmed with the
Yeah.
anxiety. But he's not logical. So, and then, you know, with this, it's his size. I understand he's anxious and all that stuff. So we tend to take that into account. I'm like, well, do I need to go that much higher? I'm like, technically, yes. He's not doing anything bad, so to speak. He's not being mean. He's not being aggressive or whatever. But his anxiety's so bad, you have to go there to help him override his own anxiety. So he has to be more stressed about getting off of the object because of 100 to override his own personal anxiety.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the anxiety is an emotional component. It's not really real,
Yeah.
so to speak. This is real. This is concrete. This is physical, right? So how we get dogs over this is he's like, well, I'm anxious because my, you know, mom and dad are in the other room, but I know if I get off of this, 100 will happen. But if I just sit still and nothing happens, and ideally what we should see is you don't get this anymore. You tell Enano the place, theoretically, he should go and go into a resting state much more quickly.
Okay.
Now, the way we do this, because we've had, to give you an example, we had a dog here when we first opened the facility. His name was Jaeger. He was a 150-pound black Russian Terrier. Okay, they look kind of like a Schnauzer, huge. And he would jump at the owner, he would bark at her. He was big, he'd jump up, like put his paws and push and stuff. He was a big bully. So we took him here, we put him on place, and for the first week, he only stood and would salivate like
He just
crazy.
stood in.
He never sat down, he never laid down for hours. Okay, every day, because we do this multiple times a day for the board and trains. They do it up to about 6 to 8, you know, in between play and other training and their walks and stuff. In total for the day, up to 6 to 8 hours of this, right? So not to like day 7, like 7 to 10, he finally sat down. Okay, and everybody was like, oh wow, like he finally sat down. And then 3 more days, he finally laid down. Okay, and then after that, he would go to sleep. But the first about 2 weeks, just puddle drool, we had to go and like wipe it with the rag and stuff, because he was not used to being made to sit still
Yeah.
for an extended period of time. So he had to get it out of the system. But eventually, the emotion becomes exhausting.
Yeah.
You can only be that way for so long. And then the brain finally gives up and it has to go into a resting state, okay?
So doing this like more frequently will
More frequently and
Theoretically
extended period
should.
of time. Yeah.
progress a little bit quicker than once.
Correct. So, let's say every day you made it part of your routine. Every day, you know, at 6 o'clock, whatever, you place them And then once you get to the point where you find the number that's gonna keep Enano there, that's when you're gonna start to see the real progress, okay? Every case is different. Now, can we guarantee Enano's gonna go to that state? No,
Yeah.
okay? But the more you confront it, the more likely you're gonna get there, okay? So, the extended period of time is because he can only be like this for so long. The frequency is just more exposure, okay? So like, have you guys been skydiving?
No.
No? Do you think that would be stressful?
Yeah.
Do you think the first time would be really hard?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's say you do it every day.
You get used to it.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Let's say you do it 3 times a day every day.
Yeah, you get
Even
used to it
faster. Okay, so it's the same concept, except for the skydiving, it's just jumping out the plane, right? Whereas here, it's being still for an extended period of time. Okay, so it's just finding opportunities. So I think once you get to the point where you find your working number is when it's gonna be a lot easier, because now it's not gonna be stressful.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be spending an hour from 8 to 100.
Yeah.
Because that's where the stress is coming from.
Yeah, I get really stressed out, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to work, I need to do X, Y, Z, I'm done with this. So
Yes.
then I just put him in place in the living room, and he'll sleep.
Yes,
'Cause
but you're trying to challenge them.
Yeah.
Correct. So, once you figure that out, and then you see consistency, then it becomes easier to place an animal in a different room at any point of the day.
And would that, sorry, would this also maybe translate to like when we just leave the apartment, he's alone?
I mean, technically, but the problem is, because there's a difference between you being in the other room
Yeah.
and then you actually leaving
Okay.
the apartment.
Like I
Right.
can't control him from outside the apartment? but-
Right. So, but that's theoretically the stepping stone, okay? Because when you leave, what's he do? I think you said he like paces and pants and
He
cries.
paces and whines. We have a bar collar, put that on him, turn on the Fervo, give him like a blue stick or some sort of thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes he eats it, sometimes he doesn't. Turn the AC and TV on, so it's just background noise.
Mhm.
He'll start off in his bed and then eventually just pace, jump up on the couch, chill for a little bit, but like ears up, always like looking at the door,
Mhm.
jump down, pace, like back and forth.
Mhm.
And at this point, I'm like, as long as he doesn't make noise,
Mhm.
because I don't want any more complaints or anything.
Mhm.
But that's as much as he'll do, is he'll just lay down, but like ears perked up.
Mhm. I think so. What we need to do is teach an animal that he can be away from you and be in a relaxed state.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know how to do that.
Yes, but you're
Yeah.
theoretically correct, is by doing what you're doing and placing him in a different room is, because he already has a hard enough time with that as it is,
Mhm.
right? Is you're teaching him, you can be away from us and not be anxious.
Mhm.
And it's all about opening the dog up to the possibility, okay? And then we see, will he opt to go there? So this would be a process. The first half of the process is, what's the number that's gonna get a Nano to just sit put, okay? Once you figure that out, excellent. Now we can just push a Nano. Have him stay put multiple times a day for extended periods of time.
Okay.
And then maybe it's gonna be like Jaeger, where it's like, man, for the first 2 weeks when we did this, Jesse, every day we did 6 hours. By the end of the second week, he finally started to fall asleep. And then you keep doing it, and then you're gonna send him out into place, and he's gonna start falling asleep sooner.
Mhm.
But he's always gonna start off with stress. But eventually the brain learns, like, I can go into a resting state, and everything's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
Okay? So like clearly right now, he's not in a resting state,
No.
right? But we've only had him here for so long,
Yeah.
right? So that's where repeat.
Mhm.
And then we see, does that impact him when we leave now? Because now when we leave, he's like, well, I've been in a different room and I've been able to relax. What's the difference now? It's just a matter of will he do it? Just because the context is different,
Yeah,
okay? Does that all make sense?
yeah.
Okay? So now how do we apply this to reactivity? Okay? Theoretically, same process.
Finding the number.
Yes.
Okay.
What is the highest you've gone to correct the nominal for reactivity?
I usually don't do it as high when I'm walking him, because I'm nervous of his reaction and other people.
Mhm.
But I have gone into like 50s, 60s.
Okay?
But I've done it higher like in our apartment, because come on. That's just my own
That's
thing.
okay.
I don't know about you. You usually use a prong collar outside.
Yeah,
I
but
just-
inside with me, he's really quiet. He's not too
But does
nervous.
he like attack? He goes after.
No, if I put together with another dog, obviously, but if I keep a distance, he is kind of okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm usually the one walking him, and like when I do, like, I'll try to not, like, if we're passing a dog, I'll put him on the other side, or I'll just sit. He will lunge at smaller dogs than him. He's kind of a bully.
Mhm.
That's what I call him. And bigger dogs, he cowers and like tries to run around them,
Mhm.
kind of. Sometimes I'll have him sit, like that you taught us like a couple of years ago, and
Have them pass.
yeah, he will just kind of watch them.
Okay.
But with smaller dogs, it's more of he goes after them,
Gotcha.
or his tail will go up and he'll get all
Okay.
like.
And when do you correct when he starts to lunge, or do you correct when you start to see him like he's
I
gonna do
try
it?
to be like a step ahead of him and like have him sit if it's a smaller dog, so he's just sitting. And then if I see him like hyper focused or like he gets that like posture of like I'm gonna go after you, I'm like no, you're not.
Mhm.
But sometimes he will just do it anyways, and then I'll just like I'm not looking because it's like so fast. I'll just turn the level up and then just hit it.
Mhm.
That's why sometimes I'm not paying attention really. But it's just like, I just wanted to stop being reactive. Like I can't like fix, I don't know if there's like a permanent, like, it's been like 2 years and I just want him to like, I want to be able to go on a walk.
Yes, I get it. It's frustrating. Okay, so here, you step aside. Okay, let's keep it consistent, right? Let's say you just step aside,
Okay.
and he sees a small dog. You know he's gonna lunge, correct? Right? He sees a bigger dog. 50-50?
He doesn't usually go after the bigger ones.
Okay.
He, unless they're the one initiating
Okay.
the forward movement.
Uh-huh.
But he'll just kind of like cower, back off, kind of turn
Okay.
his head.
Okay, so we know small dogs for sure. If the dog's barking at him or lunging at him, he's ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you went to 60, what did Enano do?
He usually, he'll react, he will stop, he'll look at me, for a little bit, his tail will keep wagging, and I know it's not like a happy wag.
Yeah, it's just residual.
It's, and then like I'll like let the dog pass, keep moving, but he's still in that like state, and like he'll like look back, and
Okay.
look back, and I'm like, no, let's just keep
Still
going.
at 60.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
Eventually, he's fine. He'll
Okay.
stay and heal. It's just like when a dog is anywhere near, he's kind of like lasered in on them.
Okay.
But
So what I would do here is, because you start lower typically, right? Same thing?
yeah,
Okay, so it's the same concept. 60 I think is probably where you're around the right range there, okay? You're gonna do 60 for everything, okay? If Enano passes you, turn 60. When you step aside, shortening your leash for the small dog. 60 for even the ears going up, okay?
okay.
And then we see what does he do in response. That's why I was asking, I want to know which dogs do we know Enano is going to respond to, and then it's what's the highest you went to, and you said 50, 60, and then I asked how was it after, and you said, well, he did look at me. You can see his tail wagging, right? And then when you started moving, you can see he was still up, right? And then you have to correct again. If you were too low, you would have been tapping a lot. And
Yeah.
it sounded like 60 was pretty immediate. There was still some more, but not as much.
Yeah, when I go higher, I'm not always paying attention to the number, but it's less taps than a lower number. Like usually, like if I'm having him sit and we'll let the other dog pass, I'll start lower. But if he does anything, I'll just go up. Like I'm not looking at it because it's such a
It's so quick, yeah.
and a couple times, and then he'll like look, and then yeah. But it's just like annoying because like I want to take him for walks and not have to constantly be like, is there a dog? Is there a dog? Is there a dog?
Sure.
It's not that enjoyable.
Yeah, because then you're on edge, because you're like constantly waiting for like the next thing.
Yeah.
So from now on, when we walk out the door, 60.
Okay.
Okay, we're not doing 8 to 6 or 8 or whatever. We're already gonna be there, so we know that's consistent. We're gonna do the same theory. Okay. So now, when you're walking with Enano, if he passes you, when you turn to correct him, it would just be 60.
Okay.
Okay. So when we apply the 3 tap or 3 correction rule to the heel, every turn and tap is 1 correction. Okay. So if you're at, let's say we're not gonna do 60, let's say we do 45. Okay. You're at 45. You're walking with Enano, and he gets ahead of you. Turn and tap. Right. That's 1 correction. You walk the other way. He passes you. Turn and tap. Come the other way, he passes you, turn and tap. That is now 3 corrections. What do we do here?
Up the level.
Right, and reset your count, okay? So let's say we go up, and now we're gonna go up to 60, okay? So you're at 60, another one passes you, turn and tap. You walk, he passes you, turn and tap, and all of a sudden, you're walking and Enano's right next to you, okay? Now you found, hey, at 60, he's right here. I'm not having to do all this nonsense,
Yeah.
right? So you go, okay, 60 is looking for the heel. Now we have to think about the reactivity. I see a small dog. I already know he's going to be reactive. You step aside. That's the easiest.
Okay.
He sits. You shorten the leash. You watch Enano. 60. He does this. Boom. Right there. 60. We don't wait for the explosion. Okay. If he still becomes reactive in response to the e-collar, it's okay. Again. If he's still going and the dog is passed, I go, 60 didn't work. Because I went past the 3 tap rule. He kept lunging and barking. So next time I see a dog, so for heel, I'm thinking 60 is enough. For reactivity, it's not enough.
Okay.
So the next time I see a small dog, I already know I went past the 3 tap rule the first time, 70.
Okay.
Okay, I step aside, I repeat. Same concept. I tap 3 times, 4, 5, 6 times, he's still lunging and barking. I go, okay, it didn't work this time. 80 the next time I see a dog. And you just keep jumping, okay? And then eventually, and I think the level that you're gonna use for your activity is most likely gonna be very similar to the level you use for the anxiety,
Okay.
okay? I'm pretty sure you're probably gonna get some kind of consistency there,
Okay.
right? So you keep doing that. And like, let's say you end up on 100, okay? And then you see a Enano, boom, and he stops and he looks at you, right? And the dog is coming, he's like this.
Yeah.
And they pass, and he goes like this.
Because you don't want the dog, you don't want him to like look, like stare at the other dog.
Correct. Like, I don't mind if he
back
like
and-
looks and like whatever, right? Or like be like paranoid. He should just not care about the dog, right? So I go, man, on 100, he stopped right away and didn't do anything.
That's
So I
just
go,
awful.
that's the number. So then we go to 60 for the walking, right? You see a dog, step aside, 100. Okay, he does nothing. Perfect. Back down to 60, continue walking.
Okay.
See another dog, step aside, 100, right? So you're just assuming every time you're gonna see it, you just go up already. So this way we already know if we have to correct on what it's at. Then what we should see is, it's gonna be, you know, he lunges and barks, you correct him at 100, he stops, he sees another dog, he doesn't do anything, he sees another dog, doesn't do anything, again and again and again. And then finally he sees the 10th dog. He tries to do something, 100, look, he stops right away. The dog passes. And then you see 20 dogs, nothing, and then he does something.
Okay.
Boom. It's the same concept as like with the place. When you hit the right number, he's gonna go there and stay put with much less work for you.
Okay.
Okay, that's how you can tell like, okay, he's getting it. We apply the same theory of training to the reactivity. Okay, so the other thing potentially is if we start tapping him for the obedience at 60 now, you might potentially not even see reactivity. Because now you're correcting them more harshly for just obedience.
Like the heel.
Exactly, so he's not caring about the dog. Okay, now, it can work that way, doesn't mean it can't work that way, but you may see something there, okay? Otherwise, you just keep building off your failures, and the reason why I go in jumps of 10 is, you said, it's been 2 years. And I just want to be able to walk my dog,
Yeah.
right? So we're going more quickly because it's been 2 years of you trying to do this, so he has the concept.
Yeah, he'll heal decently, but the reactivity, and after like a certain amount of time outside, he will just want to go back home. He's
Yes.
had enough.
Mhm.
And now our walks are like around the block, 10-15 minutes, because any more than that, he's so stressed out. He's consistently walking ahead of me, even if I correct him with the e-collar or the prong.
Mhm.
And like, I don't know how, I also want to like, I want him to be able to go outside and be like, this is a good, I can like, I don't know, take him to a park somewhere where we're kind of alone, lay down,
Mhm.
enjoy it. Like, I don't want him to be afraid of outside.
Mhm.
Like, he likes going outside, but he doesn't really like being outside.
Mhm.
I know we're in a big city, so it's hard
Are
to.
you guys still at the same place?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Which is busy.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
I feel like I'm expecting a lot from him, but I mean, I'm not gonna move to the boonies to.
It's just.
I'm not. So
Yeah.
I want, like, given the circumstances, the best we can.
Yes, so you're not the only, like I've had, this is very common, where I get a client that's moved from a quieter place or whatever, and they move to the city and the dog's under stress. Like, it is what it is, the dog has to learn how to,
Yeah,
coexist in this level of environment.
yeah,
So I think you're on the right track, but now the issue has been, you've always started low, working your way up, which is where a big cause of the stress is coming from.
yeah,
And I think coming in higher, I'm confident that coming in higher and adjusting the theory now is you're gonna start seeing a difference, okay? You will most likely see an influx of anxiety, okay? Like now,
mhm,
okay? So it's not so much he's more anxious in a negative way, he's more anxious because he's really gotta counter himself.
mhm,
He's really gotta think, okay, like, mom put me on the bed and I have to not get off.
mhm.
That's where it's coming from. When you're with him on the walk and he sees a dog and now he has to not be reactive, you're gonna see an influx in anxiety and stuff because he's gotta really control himself because he's thinking, I don't wanna get 100 or whatever that number is. So that's where you're gonna see that in the beginning, okay? As you expose him more, we should ideally start to see him de-escalate now because now he's learning. I can see a dog, not have to try to attack them, and I'll be fine.
Mhm.
And I also won't get 100.
Mhm.
So then then they start to relax. Because in the beginning, he's thinking, well, that dog's an enemy,
Mhm.
and I have to attack him, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, you can't do that. And now he's getting 100. He's like, oh crap, 100 sucks.
Yeah.
So then he's conflicted, like, do I really want to go after that dog, or do I want to get hit by 100, do I not want to get hit by 100? So then once he does all this processing, and he sees it, and he sees it, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, I can see dogs and not be reactive,
Yeah.
and I also won't get tapped at 100. Ah, cool.
That would be nice.
And then we just get more relaxation.
Yeah.
And here, are you seeing the little windows of him calming
Yeah,
down?
when he puts his head down.
Right.
Or stops panting for a couple seconds.
Yeah, and in the beginning, remember, like it was like 10 minutes nonstop, and then he finally put his head down and then pointed. And then he got up again immediately, right?
Yeah.
And then, a little bit while later, he put his head down again. And now it's getting kind of more frequent of he's just resting
Mhm.
because this is exhausting. Okay, being stressed is exhausting.
Yeah.
So the more you confront this, I think you're gonna start to see this happen more quickly, okay? Questions?
What about the whining when he's on place, but
You can correct that with this.
like,
The same level.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just keep the same level. So like as I did earlier,
Whatever his working number is.
So when he was first here in the beginning, so like let's say this, right? Right now, where is Enano's attention? Before he puts that down.
Us.
Yes, okay, so I'm at 31 right now.
Mhm. Because you have the remote, you want him to. Oh,
Now what did it do?
looked away from us.
Correct. So here, part of the anxiety is him, is attachment,
Yeah.
right? So when you put him in a different room, not only is he not next to you, he's completely away from you, he cannot see you,
Yeah.
okay? So here, to make it simple, I just wanted Enano to not move off of the area. but he was looking your direction the entire time you've been here.
That's what he does in the bedroom at Place. He'll look towards the door and just stare.
Correct.
Yeah.
So right now, on 3, technically 4, corrections, what did I create?
Some separation.
Yeah, because he's looking this way now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get what I wanted, but I didn't really do anything different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just became more strict. And I said, I don't want you looking that way, right? I want to push a little bit more. This might be harder, but 31 still. There we go. See how you looked away even more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know how he was able to decipher that?
I'm gonna be honest.
What's his reference point right now?
What do you mean? Sorry.
The leash. Like
I don't
he's
know. The leash?
to you.
What's he doing right now?
He's not looking at us. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's right there, right? What command did I put him in?
Place.
So what's his reference point?
What? I'm sorry.
Don't get off the place.
Okay.
Okay, it's okay. I ask questions because I find that making people think, and if they come to the answer, they retain better. Okay?
Yeah.
So, right there.
So Place should technically be him just laying down.
Correct, right. So place, in its simplest form, is go here, don't move.
Mm-hmm.
But he was staring at you the entire time. So I made, I'm telling him something more specific.
Without actually telling him.
Correct.
Okay.
So right now, Enano knows that being on place is his safe space. As long as he's on place, nothing will happen, okay? But then he's on place, but the collar starts going off again. And he's like, why is the collar going off, right? Now, most dogs would jump off because they think being on the place causes the collar, right? So then we have to keep correcting, bring them back on, and they go, okay, well, I got tapped on place, but then I got tapped when I got off of place, and went back on place and went away. So like, why did I get tapped,
Mhm.
right? So then they go back to the behavior, looking at you. You tap him, it happened again. He jumps off, for example. I keep correcting, he comes back and he's like, limp. And he's like, I was on place, I got tapped for going to place, I got tapped when I got off of place. What am I doing, right? Goes back to staring at you,
Mhm.
tap. And he's like, okay, something's going on. And he decides, if I get off, I'm gonna get tapped again. If I come back, it goes away. So what happens if I just do this?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So he learns, oh, that tap wasn't for being on place. That tap was for being too attached
Yeah.
to my owners. Okay?
Would that be like the next, like once we get him to just be in place?
Yes. Step at a
Then
time. Mm-hmm.
focus on, because he's always staring at the door.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, don't stare at the door now.
Right.
It's like when we are eating.
Yeah, when we're eating,
You learn.
yeah, we didn't want him staring at us when we're eating and like begging, so we're like, go lay down and
Mhm.
just fall asleep. He falls asleep faster now. He'll just, but we didn't really do it with the e-collar.
Right. It was just to get exposed to it, right?
Yeah.
Now this is being more direct in your communication. Okay?
Okay.
So now I created what I was looking for. So I already knew what I could achieve.
Mhm.
Okay? It's just a matter of now kind of opening you up to those possibilities, but it would be step by step.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't know if you noticed, but like turning him away from you, even though he's getting anxious, he's actually calming down more.
Mhm.
Okay? Because part of the anxiety is that he's here with you, but cannot be with you.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you start to remove the dog, like I had another client very similar. It was the husband and the wife was like 20 feet away, and the dog kept staring at the wife and like crying and barking.
That's what he does if we walk them together.
Yeah.
And like he goes to throw away the poop and I stay here, like with the dog,
Mhm.
he's just freaks out.
6
And I'm
feet.
just like, okay.
And
So
the
same
other,
thing as reactivity.
the other thing that I noted that was Chloe was on vacation with her mom for a
Mhm.
week and a half, and so all the time that she was gone, Enano was so alert.
Mhm.
So just hearing all what happened outside the apartment, like the elevator or people just walking outside. He was like like someone is there just, but when we are together in the apartment, he doesn't care about anything outside.
When one of us is gone, he never relaxes fully. He'll lay down, ears pricked up, but
Just, you know,
that's as much as he'll do.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the pandemic didn't help, but
Oh, yeah, no.
I think everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we could eventually get to like, you can just chill, like,
Yeah.
you're okay.
And now I'm being even more strict than I know. Do you see what I'm correcting for now?
He gets his head up.
And what else? What has he been doing every time he lifts his head?
Panting.
Correct. So the last 2 times I tapped him right now was because Enano was, right? So I tapped him and I was just like, because remember, you're part of the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've gotten to this degree, now I can communicate even deeper, okay? So this is to help show you, you can do it, okay? It's just a matter of what is he gonna need in the home,
Yeah.
okay? I'm gonna change the homework I'm gonna give you, okay? I'm gonna have you first start with this exercise in the home, okay? We're not gonna use the word place. I'm gonna have you do what I did earlier. Remember?
You just correct him.
Right, just tap, and it's not so much that I'm correcting them, I'm technically still telling them the place. It's just with the
Okay.
e-collar instead of with the word, okay? You're gonna stand with the novel 2 feet away. You're gonna shorten the leash, okay? So that, because the more leash he has, the more he's gonna wanna wander. At 10, 3 taps, right? No response.
So like standing
15.
by the bed.
Just
by
like
his
I
bed. Okay.
15, no response. 20, tap, tap, tap. 25, 30, 35. You see another go there. 35, drop your leash, leave the room. Okay, I'm gonna have you do that instead of jumping at 60.
Okay.
Okay, because if once we start to get into these deeper conversations, it's not always about power. Okay, now power, yes, to override the anxiety and stuff, and like if he whines, yes, just power. Okay, but if he's panting, I really you wouldn't use a lot of power to get him to calm. It's still enough for him to do it, but I'm not trying to like panic the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so break.
Oh,
Break.
me? Okay.
So right now, I'm gonna have you do what I did earlier with Enano, only using the tap to get him to go to the dog bed here.
Should I start at 30 or?
Oh, you're gonna start at what I put it to 10?
10,
Yeah, right there. So stop right there. Okay, and when you press the button, I'm gonna have you say the word tap, okay?
Oh, so just say tap,
Mm-hmm.
tap, tap, tap.
Okay, nothing, bump it.
15. Tap, tap, tap,
Mm-hmm, bump it.
tap, tap, tap,
Mm-hmm, bump it.
tap, tap, tap,
Mm-hmm, almost, bump it.
tap.
What's your number?
30.
You see that? Right? That is now the 3rd time,
Yeah.
right? First was at Daniel's feet, second was when I was there, 3rd time is now with you, same concept, right? 30. So that's what we would dub in this context, your working number, okay? So what I'm gonna have you do is when you go home, do your setup like you have been, walk about 2 feet of the object, start at the 10, tap, tap, tap at that exact rhythm, bump it, okay? When you see Enano finally go to the bed, drop your leash, leave the room, have your furbo, do your thing, okay?
Okay.
And then we want to do the 3 correction roll, right? So then explain to me how you're going to approach that.
It's when he gets up, I tap 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and then if he doesn't get back to the bed,
Mm-hmm.
I get up, but I keep tapping,
Mhm.
grab the leash,
Mhm.
kind of guide him back while tapping.
Mhm.
If he goes back, when he goes back,
Mhm.
drop the leash, leave.
Yes.
And do that 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
If after the 3rd time he still does it,
Mhm.
up the level.
Yes. Okay. Now, the one thing I would change is when you pick up the leash, do very little to guide him.
Okay.
What you're doing is, if Enano's going all over the room, all you're doing is limiting
Where he can go.
how much you can go, because he only has the radius around you. Okay, because if you keep moving with him, or you keep pivoting and all that stuff, it's gonna make it harder. So you just anchor yourself, just like you did there, okay? And then you send it back, and then you go back to the room, okay? And exactly like that. On the third tap, if Enano has not self-corrected, keep tapping at that rhythm, go in the room, pick up the leash, help him, he goes, we leave, right? Now let's say you tap. When you enter the room, Enano goes,
Then just leave.
just leave.
Okay. And don't say anything, don't say good,
anything.
don't say.
Nothing, okay? And then just keep tabs on that, okay? Until you hit a number where you think, wow, Enano's not moved for an hour, right? And then when you correct them, it's an even greater length of time. Now that's the exception to the 3 correction rule, is if I'm noticing a greater increase in time of him performing the task, I don't reset on the 3rd count, because I am gradually making more progress. Okay, but if 30 gets you only 5 minutes of him sitting still, then 30 is not being effective. You would keep going up, okay? If you want to go and jump start at 5 or 10, I'll leave that up to your own discretion. Once you've done this, and you find the number that keeps Enano there for a good chunk of time, then I would say take that number and use it in reference for your reactivity. Or if you'd rather just want to spearhead it, I would start at 60. Okay, because from what you've told me earlier, 60 sounds to be around the number that talks to him immediately and gets him to cut the behavior, okay? But you're gonna use 60 both for the healing position. You would use 60 if he forgets the auto set. You would use 60 if he perks up his ears and you know he's gonna become reactive, or he growls for everything. Okay? And then same concept, you should notice like, hey, like today on the walk, I only tapped Enano twice at 60. And then you go a few days and you're like, man, I didn't tap Enano for a few days. And then on the 5th day, he becomes reactive, tap him at 60, and then it's immediate. And then it's only 1 tap for the entire walk, and then you don't tap Enano for 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yes, that's what we're looking for,
Yeah.
okay? And it literally just comes down to the number. You will see, again, an influx of his stress levels and his anxiety, because he's gonna be very conflicted. But we should also start to see him tone down. The rate of the correction should go down. His stress levels are going to go up, which is normal. Your stress levels should go down, because now you're not having to worry about, oh my God, Enano. Okay? Now, once we find what works for him, I would recommend you just stay there. Okay? Don't worry about going back down again. Because this happens with some clients where they'll be up and then down and then up and then down. Because if you went back down to 8, he goes, oh, we're at 8 now?
I can do whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would just keep it at 60. Whatever number you find works, I would keep it there for those contexts, for your heal, for the reactivity, for the being in place in a different room. And then once you get that under control, then I would worry about when you leave. Okay. I'm hoping both those things, just kind of tightening them up, will help with that stuff. And then we just play it by ear. Okay. So this should help address your reactivity. This should help address your healing issues. This should help address his anxiety of being in a different room, the whining, all that stuff with what we covered today should address all that. Okay?
And then don't say the word place when we're practicing. Like in the
Not right now, until you find that number.
And
Then you can say place. Okay, because let's say it's 30, but now we know the number that's gonna make it happen. Then we can reintroduce the place word. Okay, but I'm doing this because it's obvious for you. Because 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, nothing, and then 30, boop, there we went. Okay, so he already knows what he should need to do or what he needs to do. It's just it's not important enough for him to do it and be held to do it. Okay. Questions?
I did have a separate question. Sometimes, like whenever we put the e-collar in to take him outside, he's fine, happy, will come. If we put the e-collar on him and he's just to stay inside, just to use with the bedroom, he will not come.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, that's like a common thing, because
he's going under stress.
Or like, even if he has it, he's just standing there, I just grab the remote because I'm getting up, going to a different spot. He'll like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that like a normal?
I would ignore it for now, because he's anticipating something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're doing the different room stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's just getting tied to the fact that he's assuming you're gonna do something that he doesn't like. And that doesn't just mean the e-collar. That means putting him in a different room and being
Okay.
away from him, right? So we'll see how he does as we expose him more to it. You might even see that for the walks now, because now you're gonna be
Stricter?
more stricter and stuff.
Okay.
But then through exposure, he should just get over that stuff.
Okay.
Okay? So I would ignore it for now. Always be neutral or upbeat.
Okay.
Okay? Or positive energy. And then just, we see how he does over time. Some dogs get over it within the week. Some dogs take a bit.
Okay.
And I think for Enano, because it's been, you were still trying to figure out like what's gonna work for Enano. Because
Yeah.
you've been stuck in a limbo for a
Yeah.
couple of years, okay? With this new theory, I'm confident you're gonna have
Okay.
some progress there, okay?
Sounds good. Do you have any questions?
No. I think the only thing is when we have to, I don't know, is the car, those kind of things that he gets
Oh,
so
yeah, when
excited. We have to do the same thing, just more strict.
Like he like will grab the kennel, or he knows he's coming with us. Somewhere we're in the apartment, he's like shaking, whining, he's sitting, just
sure.
like we're calling him.
Mhm.
It's the same concept of like whatever number.
Yeah, once you find I would focus on the reactivity and the place in a different room.
Okay.
And I would use those as your reference points,
Okay.
okay?
But not like top priority.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, because I don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
With like, because, yeah, it's gonna be a
Because
lot.
he has like so many instances where I'm like, I don't, it gets really overwhelming. I'm like, okay, what should we just do?
Yeah, I think those two things are good to start with.
Okay.
And then just shoot me an email,
Okay.
okay, if you get stuck. Or if you see something, or you can film it and email it to me,
Okay.
and I can watch it and I can email you back.
Okay.
But this is a much more simpler form, because before, when you guys trained with me, I worked with the Enano in front of you,
Yeah.
right? Whereas now I had to like change things and alter it and come up with like a method that people can just go home and
Yeah.
do. So I think here this is gonna make a big difference for
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, for sure. I think my next client just came.
All right.
Great.
Great.